What is up, and welcome back to the Unfiltered Trainer podcast. It has been a minute since we have had a conversation, and that is because if you know where I live, you know what we are going through in Tampa, and it is nothing that has been positive or anything I felt like comfortable having a conversation about. Living in Tampa these last few weeks has been very gut-wrenching. It's been heavy. It's been traumatic. It's been everything that I wouldn't wish upon anybody in their life. And so if you are not familiar with where I live, we have endured 2 back-to-back hurricanes, one of which devastated a lot of my friends. A lot of them lost their homes. And then before anybody even had the chance to think about recovery, we had a second hurricane, and that was the one that they had deemed that they thought was going to hit Tampa as a Category 5. And if you're on the internet, I don't know who or how, but somebody created a simulation video that showed what would happen if Tampa was hit by a Category 5 hurricane. And I was fine because I had to stay because I had to work. And I know that's a hard topic for a lot of people because the internet's a crazy place. It is unhinged. And a lot of people were sharing their unsolicited opinions about those of us that chose not to evacuate during a Category 5 hurricane because they don't live here and they don't understand. So, for those of you not in the state of Florida, 1, not everybody evacuates because they're not supposed to. 2, people have to work and are expected to work up until the hurricane. I am in that category. 3, the majority of people that don't evacuate, it's because they can't afford to evacuate. Flights were $1,000 the Monday before the hurricane hit. To leave on the Tuesday when I finished working, if I chose to evacuate, I was still not in a mandatory evacuation zone at the time. Friends were driving who were mandatory evac. It was taking 4 hours to go 60 miles. People were getting stranded because there was no gas. And the reality for a lot of people is there is a very real, palpable fear that if you are in a mandatory evacuation zone and you leave because you're supposed to, there's a scary reality of what you're coming back to, and that's if you're coming back to anything. And this situation was quite dire because we had already had one very devastating hurricane. People had already ripped out everything. All of their belongings were literally on the street. And then the very real fact of when it became a Category 5 was that if and when this does hit the way it's going to hit, all of the debris that was sitting in the streets would also cause problems. You couldn't win if you tried in the last few weeks living here. And so when everything happened the way it happened, it didn't just affect Florida. You saw many states affected, specifically Asheville, which was just beyond disheartening and just truly heartbreaking to watch people who are not in what they think to be flood zones completely devastate and remove an entire town off a map. That is what they had predicted for us for the second hurricane. And so when it got to Category 5, it very much was a fear because of that simulation video. And that simulation video had shown that what most of us know is that if a Category 5 hits our area, we know that there are towns that we love that would be gone and that Tampa would be completely underwater. And so thankfully, I'm one of the very fortunate people that didn't have power for 7 days, which truly was not that serious. When you watch your friends post videos in real time of standing in water that gets so high they have to evacuate their homes, it's stuck with me. It's left some images in my head, and it's really ignited this whole point of today's conversation because I didn't feel comfortable talking about health or fitness. It ignited the conversation to talk about community involvement. And so for those of you that don't know, I am the founder of Sweating Together for a Cause. It's a charity collaboration organization that is centered around bringing hope, awareness, and change through community partnerships. And so it's something that I've always done but didn't have a name for. When my grandfather was still living, right when I got out of college, he had made a statement to me that has stuck with me forever. He said, "Gina, when your needs are met, it will be your job to help other people." And I just remember thinking, okay, he's telling you something. And this was towards the end of his life. And he thinks you're capable of making this happen. So in the back of my head was this thought. He would go to have a stroke a few years later and would eventually pass away from complications from that stroke. And when he passed away, I realized how lucky I was to have grandparents. Because when I would go to dinner or out to lunch with friends, I recognized how many people in the aging population were alone. And so I started paying for dinners, lunches, always anonymously. And it would just be so cute, honestly, to see their faces light up. And sometimes they would somehow figure it out and we'd have a conversation. But that's kind of where things started. Then I became a traveling therapist. And during my time as a traveling therapist, I traveled to a lot of big cities. Went to a lot of difficult, low-staffed facilities for a variety of reasons. And it made me recognize just how great the need is in this country and how sad that is what is supposed to be a first world country has so many people living here, so many citizens that don't have their basic needs met. And I just couldn't figure out how that's possible with a powerhouse that was America. And this is obviously like 9 years ago now. And it just really was something that I couldn't fathom. Over the course of this time, I would sponsor people in need, pay for people's bills, contributed to teachers' wish lists, any small way that I could help. I was finding ways to help. And then it was when my best friend passed away from breast cancer that really made me realize how incredible a community could be when it comes together when somebody's in need. When she was still living, we had this incredible auction and dinner, and we literally sold the venue out. And it was in that moment that I realized that there's a lot of people in this world that want to help. There's far more good than bad. People just need somebody to create the scenario, host the event, whatever it takes. You need somebody to do the middle work to get the person in need and the people that want to help together. And so we started Adrian's Army. We have continued that organization still. Every year we have this incredible golf outing that is just fantastic. And still, even though it's been 9 years since she's passed away, it is not slowed down. Everybody continues to show up. And it's incredible because that organization helps do so much for those fighting breast cancer. There's so much that your insurance doesn't pay for. And when you live in a town like we do and you need to go somewhere like a major city for care, you're driving an hour and a half. Your gas, your food, your childcare, you're already without work. All of those things insurance doesn't cover. And it's just incredible that between her family and her friends, that organization has stayed alive for all of these years. And so when I moved to Tampa 3.5 years ago, which is so crazy to say, I cannot believe I'm still living here. I was the type that moved all of the time. I never lived anywhere longer than 9 months in my adult life. But Tampa feels like my hometown in the sense that it's small enough that communities come together. It's small enough that people recognize you on the street. And it's incredible because that means you can make a massive impact. And so 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago now, 2.5 almost, I moved downtown Tampa. And at the time, Tampa was being hyped up all over the internet. Insert eye roll, because it was showing these beautiful buildings, these fancy restaurants. Everybody was talking about these parts of Tampa and made it seem like all of Tampa looked like this. If all of Tampa looked like this, we would all have to be multimillionaires to be living here, living that lavish lifestyle. The reality is these were pockets of Tampa, small parts of Tampa. But the majority of Tampa is a blue-collar, hardworking town with the average person making like less than $70,000 a year at the time I started this organization. Even in the downtown region, average person is making like 68 to 94. But if you watch these influencer videos, you would be thinking that everybody in Tampa lives a lavish life, drives a Range Rover, goes to fancy restaurants all the time, and it doesn't seem like anybody's working. And all of these day in the life videos, and this is not shade, this is just, again, the Unfiltered Trainer. It doesn't seem like anybody's working in these videos. I'm constantly like, that is not what a day in life of Tampa looks like. If you have to work for yourself, like if you're making your own money and paying your own way, that is not what a day in Tampa looks like. But it's when I moved downtown that I realized that everything I was seeing on social media looked vastly different than me going from work to home. And in just the couple miles I was driving to my apartment, the need was so great and it was visible. And it really, honestly, I would get very choked up driving home. And I'm going to try not to cry when I say this because I come from the world I come from. I have a story. I've been through a lot. I don't feel like a lot of people that have that story end up in the position I'm in. And so as I'm driving by these people in need to my beautiful home in this wonderful apartment that I love so much, I would think to myself and I would say to God, why did I deserve this life? And why do they deserve that life? I just didn't understand what I did in my life to deserve this life. I just couldn't figure out why I was where I was and they were where they were. And then after a lot of soul searching, I realized that I could take my heart and my work ethic and utilize my ability to see others in need without judgment and create a positive way to elicit change, hope, and awareness. And so 2 years ago, almost, I came up with this concept called coming together for a cause. And I, at the time, was working in Sparkman Wharf. And I just thought like, hey, put this idea out there, ask them if they'd want to participate. And if they say it's a go, let's see who wants to help. And so Sparkman Wharf was on board. They were wonderful to work with. I brought together 4 fitness studios. We did these 20-minute classes. We raised a bunch of money and we sponsored the Metropolitan Ministries at that event. The Metropolitan Ministries, if you live in Tampa, is one of the most incredible organizations I have ever been a part of. Everybody thinks it's just a homeless shelter. Reality, the campus that they have created not only houses people, it provides an A-level grade education. If you're not in Florida, that is top grade education. They provide a safe space. They provide mental health services. They provide meals. They provide jobs. They even have a catering program that gets people working, and those funds help fund all of what they do. There's a laundry list of services they provide, and I just felt very aligned to it with my personal story. And I've never talked about how when I was younger, the resources I benefited from, but I very much felt called to help this organization. So I worked with this wonderful representative, Natalie. She's in charge of corporate partnership. She's a fantastic human being, like an angel on earth. And that event went really well. And they pulled me aside, and I'll never forget this moment. And they just said, no pressure, Gina, but you have something here. You really could make an impact. Like, you have to find a way to scale this. And so that is where this concept of sweating together for a cause came from. It is years in the making. something that I've been working through this year, which is why I haven't done as many in-person events till the second half of the year, is because I am working to expand it. In order to expand it, there has a lot of legality involved, is the nice way to say it. So I met with a business mentor, and it was part of the SCORE program. So if you are a small business owner or looking to start a small business, there's a company called SCORE. The Tampa Girls Who Walk actually recommended it to me. You can get business advice from mentors that want to donate their time. And so I met with my mentor and I told him this idea. And even he was like, you have something here. Like, this is serious. He said, Gina, when you pursue this, you have to be prepared. You have a great ability to generate something very successful. And then he walked me through the list of everything I have been working on. And it's very, very long. And obviously, I started as a healthcare worker. Yes, I have my own LLC, but I am not a business person. I am not a finance person. I'm just somebody that would literally empty their bank account to help somebody. And so after I met with them, I was talking with the person I hosted yesterday's event with, Michelle. She owns Manhattan Ave Boxing Club. And she said, I have a friend that works in event law. And so I had a conversation with her. Lexi was awesome. And it was one of those universe, God, whatever you believe in moments. Because it was getting really heavy when I was going through this laundry list of things. And if you don't know about this, starting a nonprofit is not cheap. It's not easy, and it takes a very long time. So we had a great conversation, and I call it a God universe moment because she was at my first event. And that was the little push I needed at that time for me to know I was doing the right thing, and that even though it started to feel crazy and daunting, I was the right person for this job. And so she recommended I speak to a nonprofit lawyer. I met with a representative of like a large nonprofit lawyer company. I don't know how to explain what they do, but we had a meeting and we went through everything I needed to do, and they filed the paperwork on your behalf. Y'all, that number was so high. And I know they're worth the time, believe me. However, that is not possible right now if I did that route. So it happened to be like the next day I was at Sorry Not Public having our ambassador meeting, and I mentioned to our owner, I said, hey, like, anybody know a nonprofit lawyer? I just feel like I need a second opinion. And I told him about what my experience was, and it's nothing against the company I had a conversation with. That's just not going to be how I can do this on my own. And it's really important to me that I uphold the quality I've had for the last 2 years and make sure this is done well and done right. And so he said, no, I have somebody I can recommend you to, and I'll help you with this. And so if I do it, I know it's going to take a little bit longer. And so I'm working through that nonprofit checklist, trying to decide, it's currently being run out of my LLC. What branch level category do we say for tax purposes is pretty much the whole reason this is happening. And so I have all these ideas. I had t-shirt mock-ups made. We're going to start selling t-shirts as a way to generate revenue. So many people have said, I want one. Just hold that thought, because I cannot take revenue through my website for charity t-shirts without the status being filed, without getting sued. So these things are all in the works, but as soon as I file the papers, then everything can go through. And so everything I want to do is on a list, and I'm trying to be patient. But in the meantime, what we've been doing is co-sponsoring events, which is kind of how all this started. Last month, we did a donation and emergency aid drive for Metropolitan Ministries. They have people that go out into the community and deliver these emergency aid bags and help people in need, talk to them, figure out what their needs are, and then get them the supplies they needed. So we funded that project last month. This month in October, it is National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I have a personal tie to this as I am somebody that has survived DV. And so it was really important to me that when Michelle from Manhattan Avenue Boxing Club had met our mutual friend Anissa, she was telling Anissa how much she wanted to get involved in her community. She had this idea, and Anissa was like, you need to meet Gina. And because of Anissa, who's just one of the best people I've ever met in Tampa, I'm so grateful for her lighthearted spirit. She's just one of the best things I could have asked for in this city to happen. She put me in contact with Michelle. Michelle and I had a meeting. She put me through a private boxing lesson. If you're in Tampa, go to Manhattan Avenue Boxing Club. It's legit. Like, I've never gone to like a real boxing gym. My arms were shaking for hours, but what I didn't expect and why I want to go back is that they're telling you sequences. My brain has not regained the ability to do that. And so she's telling me these things, and obviously I'm processing things significantly slower than usual. And I realized that doing the Therapy Brain Institute exercises, they're not it. I'm bored. But this is an active way to do something that could help that while also engaging me in a physical activity, because I cannot seem to get myself to work out. Straight up. I can't do it. I don't know. I can't do it. I can't find the time. And I literally get up at 4:30. I get up at 3:30 a.m., go to work at 4:30 a.m., don't get home till 8. And I'm lucky if I'm eating one meal. I just really have not been able to find the time. So in my head, no pun intended, I'm supposed to be doing brain activities. So now I definitely want to start going there. So if you're in Tampa, you want to go, let me know. I loved it. But between us, the three of us, we came to the agreement that we would do this event. And so my whole job at Sweating Together for a Cause is doing all of the work and then pairing the person, the fitness studio or the venue, with an organization that they align with, communicating with the nonprofit organization they want to sponsor, and then I do all of the middle work. And so I paired together all the gift bags. We did brunch, got all of like the different companies. We paired with Bear Blends and Revival Protein Cookie. They're both businesses in Tampa, and had a fantastic event. We had an 8 a.m. co-ed, a 9 a.m. kids class, and then a 10 and 11 private women's classes. We did 2 women's classes. And then all of the money we raised went to the Spring of Tampa Bay, which is the Hillsborough County Shelter for Domestic Violence. And they are in the process of expanding into a new campus because the need is so great. And they, just like Metropolitan Ministries, are titled as one organization. However, the list of things that the Spring does, again, emergency housing, food, clothing, supplies, education, job integration. They even provide legal services for these people to get out of unsafe situations. And so we had a fantastic event yesterday. As I'm filming this podcast, it's Monday, on October 20th, and we are going to tally how much money we raised. I got those paper checks so that we could present a check to the Spring of Tampa Bay once we get everything tallied. What's unique about my organization, and I don't think a lot of people know this, is that I don't profit anything. So all proceeds at my fitness events get donated back to the organization. And so the venues, the instructors, everybody just donates their time. And that's what's so beautiful and unique about Sweating Together for a Cause, is that it brings together like-minded individuals who truly want to help their community. And so that event was yesterday. So grateful. We'll be doing something again in the coming months. And now what you'll be seeing behind the scenes, if you follow along at Sweating Together for a Cause on Instagram, I literally just created a TikTok for it just because I want to have the name on all social media platforms. I've already bought the domain, filing my trademark paperwork. just because I want to own the name when we do all the t-shirts and stuff. And now I have started the process and the lengthy checklist it is to determine what category this is going to be filed under. And then in 2025, I have written down some pretty incredible ideas to scale some events. And if I have my way, we won't just help the Tampa Bay area. We'll continue to do that regardless of what I do. But I want to do more than just help. I really want to elicit positive, impactful change and raise the kind of awareness that inspires and empowers other people to do the same. And so in 2025, a lot of incredible things are coming. For now, our focus is next month, which is November 16th. We are hosting an event for Merciful Project. It is a fantastic animal rescue here in Tampa. In December, BFT, which is the studio I manage, I'm the head coach over there. We are co-sponsoring a toy drive for the local Tampa families in the area. And then behind the scenes, what you don't see when there's not a fitness event, is that we are privately sponsoring families in need. And so we've sponsored a lengthy amount of people this year. A lot of aging elderly people who had become homeless, who were living out of their cars, had medical needs, ended up in facilities. And then because of that, they don't have food, they don't have clothes, they don't have resources. And so we've been privately funding getting people back on their feet. And so what's really unique about this is that once this is all filed and we have one bank account, one area people can donate, buy t-shirts as donations, attend events, it'll enable us to create and generate funds. When something like a hurricane happens, we could directly help those who are being affected in the communities that are being affected most. And so what my goal is to have a fund for this organization that is not contingent upon just events, but will be able to generate other streams of donations so that the need, because it is so great, can be fulfilled every single month. And so in 2025, that is my goal, that every single month, whether it's a fitness event, a wellness event, something will be done to directly give back to a variety of communities that express a need. And so that is what is going to come in 2025. And so I just want to say thank you to every single person that's attended one of my events, who's going to attend an event in the coming months, and who is continuing to inspire, empower, and support me as I go after this crazy, lofty dream and goal of having Sweating Together for a Cause truly have generating donations, the kind of impact that is lasting and that is felt by many people. So y'all stay tuned. We're going to get these podcasts back on track. We're going to reschedule all those interviews, start spotlighting people that are, I would say, thought leaders, people that are out there in the community doing the most, and really just utilize this platform to create and elicit positive change in every way possible. So y'all stay tuned, and I will see you in the next episode.